Hello, 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 and welcome to Around the Boxes. We are back here, around the boxes, chilling with my comic books. We're just gonna hang and talk and have some fun, so hopefully you're down with that. We're featuring some new graphics today. I don't know, you might have noticed, got it wrong way, right here. And then the background, let me know what you guys think. I just whipped it together. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing fancy. You know, I just wanted a little bit of branding. I like that logo, so we're gonna go with that for a bit. But yeah, this is Around the Boxes. If you haven't figured out what this is yet, these are my live streams where we just hang out and talk about comic books. I show my weekly pickups. Not really weekly because these haven't been weekly, but I show all my comic book pickups, so every comic book I have in my collection, show you guys. You know, sometimes I'll be diving into my collection, showing you some of the stuff I've got, you know, talking about the latest series, the latest events, whatever the case may be. Ooh, I'm dropping things now. We just hang out. And anyone who joins in the live chat, you know, you can throw some questions out, throw some topics out, and I will, of course, interact with you guys. Or, you know, it goes up on the channel as a video, and you can watch it back as a VOD if you want to stay up to date with my collection and all of that. But this is kind of my replacement to a, weekly comic pickups or anything like that. Just trying to do these. So, let me know what you guys think about that in the comments for sure. But I should probably tweet out the stream, huh? I should probably do that, so I'm just gonna do that quick. We are live around the boxes. Boop. Tweet. So yeah, if you want to be the first to know about these streams, follow me on Twitter. Links, you can see it right there at RealDA Tweets. But I'm trying to tweet more. I haven't been very good about it. I want to get more tweets out. But I'm bad about it, man. You guys know. You know I'm bad about it. I mean, I'm terrible at keeping any regular schedule. But speaking of regular schedules, I am going to try to get these Around the Boxes streams to be more regular. I know they've kind of been sporadic when I do them and how often and all of that. So I'm going to be shooting for Thursdays. I can't guarantee that's going to happen, but that's kind of what I'm shooting for. So, bear with me, guys. I'm still trying to get the hang of everything, but I had a video. I put out a video last week? Yeah, it must have been last week, yeah. Talking about Nick Spencer's run. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on the channel. Did pretty well. I was, a lot of you guys watched it and left likes and comments. I read every single comment. I appreciate every single like. So if you didn't like the video, go like that video or like this video. But yeah, I really enjoyed that video. I was pretty happy with it. Just talking about Nick Spencer's run, talking about everything that he did with the conclusion. I still feel like I wish that he would have got Peter and MJ married again. He didn't quite undo that, but close. He got it close enough. He got him back together. So can't really complain. It is good enough. But yeah, I wrote. I have some things that we can talk about in this stream/video. I'm gonna be showing my pickups. Don't have as many comics as some of the last episodes. This is my stack this time around. So got some good stuff, new books, back issues, all sorts of things like that. Trying to keep the collection expanding. But I have spent so much time the last couple of days just organizing and housekeeping my collection. Because that is half the hobby, and I am bad about it. I am known for procrastinating it, especially when it comes to bagging and boarding comics. I've been really on top of it since kind of starting collecting again the last couple months. But there was a time where I used to put off bagging my new books, and they would just pile up, and it was always a mess. So I've been better about it. But I've been using this app. If you watched the first couple Around the Boxes, I was using it on there as well. This CLZ Comics App. It's really great. I highly recommend it for all you comic collectors watching. I finally got to the point where I have every single comic in my collection logged in here. And now I'm currently going through. What's great about it is you can sort them by a lot of information. So you can have it sorted by storage box. So I have it sorted so that I can go, okay, what's in my first long box? And then it has all the comics that are in there, second long box. So I'm going through every single comic in here and going, okay, which box is it in? What's its grade? What did I just do? I did something on accident. Oh well. What's its grade? Have I read it? That's a big one. You can mark whether you've read it or not. You can literally give it a rating, like 1 to 10 stars. I'm not gonna do that because I don't remember a lot of the books I've read. Like I remember if I've read it or not, but I don't remember. Wait, if you shake it, does it do something? Oh my gosh. If you shake it, it loads a random comic. That's kind of crazy. I don't know why you would want to do that. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just like marking it as like, have I read it? And then the biggest and most important thing that I've been doing is going through and grading them and getting their values from Comic Book Price Guide, which is of course not exact, especially when we're talking about some comics that are signed and stuff like that. I'd like to get them appraised at some point, but I just want a rough estimate of everything so I can kind of see what my collection's worth and all of that. So trying to get better about logging all of that. So this app has been really helpful for that. So I highly recommend it if you have it. It does automatically get values, but I don't trust those values because the problem is the website that it uses to get the value of your comics is based on a graded value. And my comics are not all graded. So I would have like a modern Amazing Spider-Man book, and I would put it in as 9.8 because obviously all of my new books are 9.8. And it's like, oh yeah, the value's $50. I'm like, this comic is not worth $50. It's because it thought it was graded 9.8, and it's not graded 9.8. So I've been going through manually looking at Comic Price Guide because that has the value of whether it's graded or not graded. And then you realize that book is worth like $6. So I'm getting a more realistic evaluation. So that's what I've been doing. I've been going through, for anyone interested in the stats, I can tell you the size of my collection. It is over 2,000 comic books. So that's pretty cool. Because now they're all in. So I have almost exactly 2,000. I'm 47 issues over 2,000. So if I had stopped collecting a couple months ago, I would be exactly at 2,000. But yeah, but no, this app's very cool. You can get all sorts of stats. You can get how many comics you have. You can have the total value of all your comics. I've been putting in the purchase price for the ones that I know. I don't know all of them. But for all the ones I do know and for all future comics, I can log in how much I bought it for, when I bought it, and then how much it's worth. And that way you can kind of see your return on investment, so to speak. Because I'll have to update those values, quarterly or semi-annually or whatever. But that's part of the upkeep, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing on these streams, because kind of the purpose of these streams ultimately, like long term, is kind of just to be hanging out, when I am tending to my collection. Like if I'm going through and reevaluating my stuff, if I'm going through and bagging and boarding a bunch of comics and stuff like that, I can just sit and talk to you guys and hang with the chat, and maybe we'll have music playing and all sorts of stuff like that. That's kind of the long term vision of this. So not as many live viewers now when I'm starting this off because I'm just going live. No one knows I'm live, all that. But I'm going to start trying to do them more regularly so you guys can kind of know when to tune in and all of that. So that's kind of the long-term plan. But for now, I'm just going to hang and talk to you. So that's what we're going to do. But yeah. So all in all, CLZ Comics, great app. Highly recommend it. I am kind of sick of it because I have put in hours. I mean hours the last couple of days just working on that. I was doing it for like 3 or 4 hours today, 3 hours yesterday. Just a lot of time spent just logging in comics, logging in grades, looking up values. Have I read it? How much did I purchase it for? All of that stuff. But it's going to be so worth it once I'm done. I'm not even close to done. I've made it through evaluating 2 long boxes. I have about 7, so I got a lot more to do. Well, actually, I can tell you, when it comes to the value, which is ultimately what I'm going for, I want to have every book valued and all of that. I have evaluated 650 comics, roughly, and I have over 2,000, so long way to go. We might chip away at that a little bit towards the end of the stream, but for right now, we're just going to chill, because that is a lot of work that I don't want to do. So I guess we can dive into my pickups. I can show you guys the comics I've got. There's nothing crazy, but there's some cool stuff. I did ditch the, if you saw some of my past streams, I had another camera so I could have like an in-hand shot, and that camera just sucks. I want to be honest, the camera quality sucks, setting it up sucks. Like, it was really hard to get it working, and I couldn't get it working today, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna abandon it because it's not worth it. It's not a good camera. So in the future, I'm going to get a better camera. Maybe I'll get another webcam like this so I can have a shot of comics in my hand. It'll be a little easier to show you, but I'll just hold them up to the camera right now, so not a big deal. We're learning, we're growing, we're improving. In terms of comics I've added to my collection this past couple of weeks, we have mostly new books, and I'll be talking about those, and then we have some Spider-Man. I use the term back issues lightly. They're modern era back issues, but as you guys have seen in the last few episodes, you know, I'm trying to flesh out my modern era Amazing Spider-Man collection, because it's very slim, other than the ones that I picked up off the shelf. So everything from volume 2 up to basically volume 2. I'm trying to flesh out my Amazing Spider-Man volume 2 collection, because it's relatively inexpensive and I have very little from that time period. So I will show you some of those today that I picked up. So first comic that I got, this came out this week. This was Miles Morales Spider-Man, issue 31, Legacy 271. I did not pick up the last issue because the comic store that I buy these from sold out of the last issue, and I could have ordered it online, but I didn't really want to. I haven't really been caring too much about this run, and I already have an incomplete run, so I didn't really care. This issue was okay. It was cool to see Taskmaster. My biggest problem with what a lot of comic books do nowadays is this didn't feel like a full comic book. This felt like one scene. It was one scene. This entire issue was one scene. There was not a single scene change. There was not a single change of scenery. It started with him and her on a rooftop, and it ended with him and her, sort of, on a rooftop. And that just feels a little thin. It didn't feel like it was worth $4, you know. I feel like modern comic books kind of just... I read it in a minute and a half. Like, it goes too quick. Not all comic books do this, of course. I think, you know, later I'll point out the ones that are different. But that was my biggest complaint with this book, is it felt like not much happened. It was one action scene and then it was over. I just haven't been a huge fan of Saladin Ahmed's writing on this book. Hasn't hooked me, hasn't done anything crazy. He's writing Amazing Spider-Man now. Well, he's part of the Beyond team on Amazing Spider-Man. So that's cool. Not really. Hopefully it's good, is what I'll say. I haven't loved this book in a while, because he's been writing Miles for a while. I'm kind of looking forward to whenever they have a new run, because I think I'll enjoy it a lot better. Because I really like the character of Miles, but this book just isn't doing it for me. Next one I picked up was also this week. This was Avengers 49, Legacy 749. That's the World War She-Hulk Part 4. It was good. I don't have any major thoughts on it. This book hasn't really had me hooked. Like, there are some comic books that I'm looking forward to the next issue of, and then there's some comics that just a new issue comes out and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. when issue 50 comes out, it'll be cool. But I'm not counting down the days until it comes out. Interesting twist. I wouldn't really call it a twist, but the plot thickened in this issue. I don't want to spoil it, but it was good. I'm always going to pick this up because it's the Avengers, right? Like, I'm going to pick up the main Avengers series. And I do like Jason Aaron's writing. He's written some great books, so I think I'm just not as invested in it. Maybe I need to go back and read the earlier run, because I stopped picking it up after like 20 issues, and then I came back around the beginning of World War She-Hulk, so maybe that's the problem. I don't know what it is, but kind of similar issue to the Miles Morales book, where not a lot really happened. I like my stories to have ups and downs and beginning, middle, end, and all of that, and it felt like this was just a scene in the overall movie that is the World War She-Hulk story. So it was good, but this next comic book is a perfect example of the opposite of that, where those books were over in 2 minutes and they were one scene and not a lot of storytelling. This series has been the complete opposite of that. This is Kang the Conqueror, issue number 3. And if you are not picking up this book, go and pick up this book. Especially if you are interested in Kang as a villain, you want to know more about him before he, becomes more relevant in the MCU. You want to just read a really good comic book. I highly recommend the Kang the Conqueror series. Every single issue has been really, really good. It reminds me a lot of Thanos Rising, which is another one of my favorite miniseries that Marvel has put out. For some reason, whenever they make a miniseries about a big villain, they just knock it out of the park. Thanos Rising was Thanos' origin, and it was so good. This is kind of Kang's origin, but it's Kang, so there's no real one Kang. Like, there's infinite Kangs. So this is about a particular Kang, but he kind of travels through time and visits all of the other Kangs that we've seen. So it kind of visits Rama-Tut, visits Kang the Conqueror, visits, what's his name? Like, He Who Remains, and all the different Kangs. And it's just really good. There's a lot of storytelling. There's a lot of narration. There's actual scenes and plot and twists and turns that it just makes it really, really good to read. So I highly recommend it. I've been enjoying it. My copy is damaged, unfortunately. My comic store, all the copies were damaged. I don't think it was shipped well. But I'm not that worried about it. It makes it like a 9.6 or a 9.4. So, but great read. Really enjoyed it. This next one was Dark Ages, number 2. You guys remember I talked about it when I got part 1. I just kind of saw it on the shelf and I was like, what the heck, I'll get it. Interesting concept. This is an Elseworlds story, so it does not take place in the 616 universe. And it is about a version of Earth where technology is wiped out, and it's kind of a post-apocalyptic superhero world. This issue was good. I think it built and kind of established the antagonist, in case it wasn't ominous enough from the cover there. It's going to be interesting to see where the series goes from here. It's kind of interesting to see, like, how would these characters adapt, you see Iron Man in a world without electricity, how does he adapt? Spider-Man is obviously a big part of this book. I won't say too much about it, but it's very good. If you're interested in a kind of interesting take Elseworld story, I would check it out. I think it would make a great What If episode. That's kind of how I am about... There's so many like stories in the comics where I'm like, they shouldn't make a movie about that, but it'd be a great What If episode. They could do a Dark Ages What If episode, and that would be really cool. So I doubt they would adapt it into the movies, of course, because it just wouldn't make any sense. But I'd recommend picking it up. It's an interesting book. If you like Marvel Comics, check it out. I need to... I'm talking too much. I'm going to lose my voice. Now, this next comic book we are going to talk about, and I talked about this a little bit in my last episodes, but Extreme Carnage. This is Extreme Carnage Omega, part 8 of 8. And what I can say about this is it finally came to an end. I did not like this series at all. Now, you may be wondering, why did I pick up all 8 parts then? There's 2 reasons for that. One, I just like having complete collections. I didn't want to only have 2 or 3 of them and then stop, so I figured whatever, I'll get all 8. Second reason is I wanted to give it a fair chance. I said, okay, I will read it through to the end before I pass judgment on it. Early on into reading it, I liked part 1. When I read part 1, I was like, okay, this is interesting, this is cool. But once I started getting into the middle of the story, and I talked about it in my past episode, I said, this story doesn't seem like it's really going anywhere. It's just introducing characters and establishing where all these symbiotes are. And then it just kind of came to an end. So I wanted to see it through to the end before I really reached a verdict on it. And my verdict is this story wasn't very good. The only thing this story accomplished was establishing where all of the different symbiotes are, which, as a reader, that'll be decent, if they're going to be relevant going forward, because I know Marvel is really trying to build up the symbiote verse. So, that was one purpose. I'm glad Carnage didn't die. He'll still be around. He's going to come back in another story down the line. But this just felt... it wasn't that good. If you didn't pick up Extreme Carnage, you didn't miss out on anything. You don't need to go pick it up. You could read a synopsis in 3 minutes and you would get the whole idea. It didn't do much. There wasn't much of a beginning, middle, or end. It established the threat, introduced all of the characters, and then resolved the threat. And that was it. There was no, they fight and then something happens that kind of puts them behind and they got to figure out none of that. No twists or turns, just pretty straightforward. Well, there was a twist, but it was a pretty predictable twist. It just, I didn't like it. This will go in my box and I will never take it out again. I'm not going to reread it. I'm not going to do anything with it. They tried, is all I can say. My one request I can make in the future is don't print series the way you printed this series again. What I mean by that is, every single one of these comics was Extreme Carnage, Lasher, issue 1, Extreme Comics, Phage, issue 1, and I hate that. As a collector, it's really annoying because they're not in the same series, and you have to organize them weirdly. In my CLZ app where I track my collection, it's all broken up with 1 comic per series. It's just really annoying. If you're gonna do the next time you're going to do a big Carnage story, just have them be in the Venom series or have it be in the Spider-Man series. If you have to cross over series, you can do it Maximum Carnage style, but even that I don't like. And I've said this before, I hate when storylines cross over between series because it does 2 things. One, if you're not picking up all of those series, it's really annoying because then I got to go pick up, Spectacular Spider-Man issue. If I wasn't picking up that series, I would be, but that's not the point. But the biggest problem is then it interrupts those runs because it'll be, there will be a clear story that the writer is telling in the Venom series, and then all of a sudden there's 2 crossovers with Absolute Carnage, and then it goes right back to the main series. It's really annoying as a reader reading that run just to have those crossovers, like War of the Realms crossover. I hate that. Print one-shots for those. If you want to have additional side stories within that big main event, print War of the Realms Spider-Man #1. But let the Amazing Spider-Man series continue its story. I hate when they do that. That's not what they did here, but this was, I guess, better, but I don't know. Just print comic books, man. It's not that complicated. I don't know. It shouldn't be that hard. Anyway. So yeah. Extreme Carnage, didn't like it. It was okay. Yeah, that's all I got. Next, we had Thor, issue 17? 17. Legacy number 743. And I have been really enjoying this series. I did read the whole from issue 1 till this. This was the conclusion of the Revelations storyline, which is interesting. They are setting up something very cool with this run. And I don't want to spoil it. You should definitely go read it yourself. But if you're going to go read it, I highly recommend you read it from the beginning. It's only 17 issues in. Just go on Marvel Unlimited, and you can read up to, I think, issue 15 comes out on it next week. Go pick up the last couple, and you're all caught up. Donny Cates is really doing something awesome with Thor. Donny Cates is a great writer. I mean, he had an awesome Venom run. Now he's having an awesome Thor run. He's about to take over on Hulk, and I am looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to pick that up. So I highly recommend you check this out. If you consider yourself a Thor fan, or even, if you like Thor, or you just want to read a really good run, I highly recommend it, because I think the conclusion of this run is going to be very cool to see. For those of you who are reading it, I don't want to spoil it for those of you who aren't, but the big villain, his worst nightmare, that would be sick to see it happen. So, might be leading to some dire consequences for our caped hero. We'll see if that happens. I don't know if they would be that bold, but whatever happens, I'm looking forward to it. It's been very good. That book was recommended to me by a friend, and I'm glad I checked it out, because I've enjoyed it ever since. I look forward to every single issue. So I will definitely be talking about that more in the future. Now, with all those out of the way, let's obviously get to the headline, the main event. We're here to talk about Spider-Man. I'm not going to talk about this next book too much, because I made an entire video talking about it. So if you want to know my thoughts on this book, go check out the last video on my channel. But it's Amazing Spider-Man 74, Legacy 875. To give my quick and brief thoughts, I really liked it. I thought it was a lot better than Sinister War as a whole. I think it was a good conclusion to the run. Yeah. If you want more detailed thoughts, I have an entire 20-minute video talking about this book, Nick Spencer's run, and going into the future. So if you want my full thoughts on that, go and check that out. But very good book. It's a thick one. Marvel really just keeps printing books with spines now, so they're really just... Now they're $10. It used to be the big books were $6, and then they were $8, and now they're $10. Inflation, I guess. But a comic that I have not talked on video, because this came out since I put out that last video, is the next issue, which is Amazing Spider-Man 75, the beginning of Beyond, which is this big new story that the Beyond team is crafting. Now, I have looked around on the internet to see people's thoughts on this book, and it seems very well received in general. I have seen mostly positive feedback. My thoughts on it are, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I was worried about it. I talked about it in my video, and I've said it before. I was worried about Beyond, because when they were teasing it, I'll show you the next one, issue 76. When they were releasing these covers, they really wanted us to think that Peter Parker was going to die. It's right there in the title of this video. They were telling us, 2 Spider-Men swing into Beyond and only one swings out. They were really trying to tease us and make us think they were going to kill him again. And that's why I've been saying for weeks that this was going to be Superior Spider-Man 2.0. I thought they were going to kill Peter and then have Ben Reilly take over, and it was going to be a whole thing. It seems like that is not the case. They want us to think that. Right. This 76 kind of ended with him having medical trouble. Well, 75 ended with him getting hurt, and 76 is him being hurt. But I don't think they're going to kill him. Well, we kind of know they're not. We've seen they've previewed new stuff. So it seems like what they're doing is they're going to have Peter out of commission for a little while, and Ben Reilly's going to have to cover for him as the main Spider-Man. And I'm down for it. They've confirmed already that Beyond is a 19-part story, which means it's not too long. It'll wrap up right around Amazing Spider-Man 94. which will be $8.95. So that'll be a couple of issues before issue 900. So I think that Beyond will wrap up with Peter Parker coming back. They'll have a few issues to do whatever they want to do, and then they can have the big issue 900 story, which should be really cool. So I'm down for it. I think it'll be kind of interesting to see. Peter Parker's going to have some time to come to grips with everything that's happened to him lately, and him and Mary Jane can kind of make sure that they're good. It's fun to see Ben Reilly again. He's a cool character. I think it's abundantly obvious that the Beyond Corporation is going to be corrupt. If you want my theory, I will predict it now on video that the Beyond Corporation hired the UFOs. I feel like that's pretty obvious because the UFOs mentioned someone hired them, but they didn't mention who. I feel like it's pretty obvious that that the Beyond Corporation hired them. Now, maybe they intended to take out the other Spider-Man. Maybe that was just a coincidence. Maybe they were just hiring them so that they could send Ben to save the day and they could look like the heroes. It's the Beyond Corporation is going to be ultimately the bad guy of the Beyond run. I think it's going to end with them kind of figuring out that they did all this stuff, and then Ben Reilly and Peter Parker are going to team up to take them down, and then Ben's going to go off and be Spider-Man somewhere else on the West Coast or something like that, and then he can have his own series, and they can do all of that. I think that's probably the direction they go with it, and I'm here for it. Honestly, these two books have exceeded my expectations. I was coming in ready to judge them. I was coming in critical, and I enjoyed them. I thought they were good. It was a nice, refreshing change on the storytelling. It was definitely different than Nick Spencer's style. It's definitely different than Dan Slott's style. It feels a little bit more mature. Both Dan and Nick kind of wrote the book for kids, which is, it's a comic book. Like, I get it. But it's nice to have it be a little bit more sophisticated for us adult readers, because there are lots of adults who read and collect comic books. So I feel like writers shouldn't limit their audience. So all in all, my thoughts, I really enjoyed these books. I'm looking forward to the next one. It comes out in 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens then. One feature I loved about this cover, there's the web here, and it's literally hanging on by a strand. Obviously meant to represent that, Peter is hanging on to life by a strand. So he's really a close call there. It was interesting to see Aunt May in this issue. She was different. They're definitely writing her a bit differently than past writers have recently. But all in all, it was cool. I did have a couple continuity questions. Maybe there's a bigger spider nerd watching that can answer this in the comments. But one, I thought Peter was either immune or incredibly resistant to radiation because of the spider bite. So now he's hurt by radiation, which is weird. But two, and this is a bigger continuity thing, maybe I missed this, but in these books, it shows Dr. Kafka is working with Ben Reilly and the Beyond Corporation. But by my recollection, Dr. Kafka was killed in Superior Spider-Man number 5 or 4. One of the early Superior Spider-Man issues, Massacre escaped and killed Dr. Kafka. So when did she come back? Or did they just forget that they killed her? I assume it's possible that she came back during Clone Conspiracy? I didn't go and check. So if that's when she came back, then they're right. But I was confused and I was wondering, wait, when wasn't Dr. Kafka dead? How is she back now? And my guess would be it was probably Clone Conspiracy that happened. So if anyone knows, let me know in the comments, because I have no idea. But that was one question that I had regarding that. So, but all in all, I'm here for it. Beyond Run, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see what they do with it. So we'll go forward and see how it goes. But I am going to grab a water bottle because my throat is dry. I will be right back. So bear with me here. Okay, I am back. And I have water. All this talking really just dried it out my throat, so gotta hydrate. But yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. What do you think of Beyond? Are you liking it? Are you not liking it? How are you feeling? I was really surprised to see when I was looking on the internet for people's thoughts on it. A lot of people really liked it, and a lot of people were trash talking Spencer's run. Like, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, this is so much better than Nick Spencer, blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize it was an unpopular opinion to like Nick Spencer. I thought his run was great, but it wasn't the best run of all time, but I thought it was good. So let me know. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments. Did you like Nick Spencer's? Did you not like Nick Spencer's? And are you liking Beyond? How are you guys feeling about it? I have some back issues. I have one from Volume 2, and then I have a couple from Volume 5, because as I've mentioned before, I stopped picking up comics for about 2 years, so I'm missing a big gap in my Volume 5 collection. I stopped around 33, and I came back around 62. So I've picked up quite a few in the middle. I'm just slowly filling in those gaps. So I kind of try, every week when I go to the comic store, I'll grab one book from Volume 5 that I don't have, just to slowly kind of fill in the gap. Or I'll grab one back issue in general. So I have a few from Volume 5, I have one from Volume 2. So I'm going to show the Volume 5 ones first. I picked up issue 34, which I love this cover. I mean, that is such a good cover. It's Patrick Gleason, I believe. Yeah, and he's the guy working on Beyond. So, great cover. You got Dr. Doom, Spider-Man 2099. Just awesome stuff. So, I didn't have that one, so glad to fill that in. Then I picked up issue 46. This is another Sins Rising one. I picked up a couple of those last episode. So just continuing to flesh that out. I realized I don't have issue 55, which is the last part of Last Remains. And apparently that book is going for like $30 now, so I'm going to have to pay a pretty penny for that book. But I need to buy it sooner rather than later, because it's probably just going to go up more. So I might look into that in the next couple weeks. But last Volume 5 book I picked up was issue 57. That was Last Remains Postmortem. Interesting book. I don't like... One big criticism I have for Volume 5, and this might be a criticism for Mark Bagley, because it's a lot of Mark Bagley covers. I don't like all these generic covers. I feel like a cover of a comic should summarize what happens in that comic. And there's so many issues in Volume 5 that just have the most generic cover. It's just Spider-Man front and center, swinging through the city or posing. It reminds me a lot of Volume 2, because if you go to Volume 2, not the beginning of Volume 2, but a little bit later, kind of once they entered the modern era, it's like in the 2000s, every single cover is just like Spider-Man art. And you have no idea what happened in that comic. So that's kind of how I feel about this. Like, I've read this comic book a while ago, because I caught up on Volume 5 on Marvel Unlimited. I have no idea what happens in this comic book, because I look at this cover and I go, yeah, that's Spider-Man. That's it. So that's one criticism I do have with Volume 5. They seem to be doing better with Beyond, but it's similar, you guys know. My last pickup for this week was this Volume 2 book. It is Amazing Spider-Man 536. It's one of the Civil War issues. My comic store has a few of these, so I've started picking them up, because Civil War was obviously a big event for Spider-Man. It's when his identity got outed, and he was, Team Iron Man, and then Team Cap, and then, Back in Black was a big thing, and then it obviously led to One More Day, which was the big reboot that's super controversial and all of that. So, this was like $2, $3, so picked it up, and I'm gonna get the rest another time. But just trying to fill in the holes in my collection, just keep it growing. So that's what we've been working on. But those are my pickups this week. Lots of cool stuff. My favorite pickup for the week, if I had to pick, out of everything, obviously issue 74 was a big deal, but yeah, I would say all in all, the highlight of these pickups is definitely the new Amazing Spider-Man issues, because it's been really exciting. I like getting new comic books and getting new Amazing Spider-Man issues, because obviously I pick up a lot of comic books, right? I'm picking up Thor, I'm picking up Avengers, I'm picking up, Venom and Hulk and all this stuff, but obviously the number one series that I look forward to every single time is Amazing Spider-Man. When I'm checking what comics are coming out that week, that's the book that I hope to see each and every week. So having it go to 3 times a month is awesome, and I'm very much enjoying that, because having it 2 weeks in a row was sick. We're skipping a week next week, but then we'll have another one the week after that, and then the week after that, and then the week after that. So I'm excited to see where Beyond goes from here, because it seems like they're doing some good stuff with it. So that would definitely be my pickup of the week. I think my favorite would probably be this one. I really liked this most recent issue. So yeah, that's my comic pickups. And not as big this week, not as much, but next time probably have a bigger stack. I'm planning sometime very soon, I want to go back to some of my old comic stores that I used to buy back issues at, because I live in the same area that I used to live. So the comic store where I bought my issue 2 is here. The comic store that I bought a lot of my original comics back in the day, like when I first started collecting, is here. So I'm saving up a little bit of money, and I want to go back and just buy a bunch of books. I'd also love to go to conventions soon. There's no conventions happening anytime soon, but I would love to go to a convention and just buy some books. So that'll happen soon, hopefully. So we'll have more pickups, more back issues. I'm gonna be ramping it up. It's just just moving, starting the new job, getting the finances settled, so I don't exactly have too much money to be blowing on comics. So been sticking to the weekly pickups, and that's about it. So let's see, what else is going on? I'm trying to think. So that's my pickups, thoughts on Spider-Man Beyond. I guess we should talk about No Way Home, huh? Or did I talk about that last week? Or not last week, 2 weeks ago. One, not complaint, concern that was brought up by JP, who you guys know, or might know. We were talking the other day, and he mentioned that, one big problem with No Way Home is that they're about to have so many of the big Spider-Man villains that who are they possibly going to have after this movie? And I thought that was a good point. Because this movie is going to have Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, possibly Venom, possibly Lizard, possibly Sandman, Electro. Am I forgetting others? I don't know, it seems pretty obvious that they're going to do the Sinister Six. And so, what do they do next? They could do Kraven the Hunter, but they're doing a Kraven the Hunter movie. They could do Scorpion? I think what I said was they should do a gang war type. Have it be based in New York, which they don't always do, so I would like them to do that. And have it be kind of like Kingpin, Tombstone, Hammerhead, Black Cat, and just really do the whole, they're all in a gang war and Spider-Man's kind of caught in the middle. You could do black costume Spidey and have Black Cat there and do that whole thing. I think that would be really cool. But I don't know if they'll do that or not. That's what I would do, though, if I was in charge. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, are they going to do MCU versions of Doc Ock? Are they going to do MCU version of Green Goblin? Or is this it? And that we have that, and then that's it. Who knows? I worry that they'll do the Ultimate Green Goblin as the MCU version. I wouldn't like that. I know some people like the Ultimate version, but we have yet to have a really comic accurate Green Goblin. I mean, the Raimi trilogy Green Goblin was great, but he's Power Ranger. And then the Amazing Spider-Man Green Goblin was a gremlin. I would love to see an actual goblin. We haven't seen the MCU one yet, so it might be closer to... I hope it has more... It looks like, based on, the leaked images we've seen, it looks like it'll have more purple. Like, let me see. I have Green Goblin No Way Home. Let me see if they have the picture. Here it is. Yeah, this picture. It looks like it has actual green and purple, which is awesome. Because the old Green Goblin had no purple, except for his glider, kind of. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be cool. Yeah, like, what is that? That is just bad. I don't know who was in charge of the costume department there. Because that is not good. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. That looks good. They should have done that. I don't know why they didn't go with that mask for this one. They should have gone with that mask. It looks so much better. Like, this is a classic, right? It's iconic. I love it, but it's not exactly the classic Green Goblin look that we all know and love. So I would have more purple. I would like to see in No Way Home. But I'm looking forward to it, but my biggest concern is, where do they go from there? It seems like they're doing this big Avengers Endgame Spider-Man movie, and where is it going to go from there? It seems like that will be the end. I don't know. Sony ruins everything. Oh, Venom 2 came out. Guess who didn't see it? Guess who's not seeing it? I guess I should talk about that, huh? So, I'm sure a bunch of you saw Venom 2. I saw Venom 1 back when that came out. And I am not going to see Venom 2. And there's a reason for that. I am done giving Sony my money. I'm done. I am pulling the plug, just like I did with DC. I don't know if I ever talked about this on the channel, but I saw Man of Steel, and I liked it. I saw Batman vs. Superman. It wasn't as good. The extended edition was great. And then Suicide Squad came out, and that movie sucked. And then Justice League came out, and that was the worst movie I'd ever seen. This was Justice League. After Justice League, I basically came to the decision. I said, you know what? DC is not making good movies. I want them to make better movies, so I'm not going to give them my money. Because the problem is, I was going to see every single movie they put out because I was hoping that it would be good. Suicide Squad was coming out, and I was like, oh, I hope that's going to be good. I'm going to go see it. And then they were getting my money, so on paper it could be a success. Suicide Squad wasn't a success. But the problem is, if everyone keeps going to see it, then they're not going to change anything because they're going to think that it works. So I stopped giving DC my money. So I never saw Shazam. I never saw Aquaman. I never saw... What else have they released? They released Wonder Woman 1984. I never saw it in theaters. I did watch it when it was on HBO Max because it was free. But yeah, and I know there's some people who I can already hear them clacking away in the comments going, oh, but Shazam was so much better, or, Aquaman was so good, this, that, the other, but that's not the point. The point is they gotta rethink the whole thing, and it seems like that's kind of the point they hit when they did Zack Snyder's Justice League, and now they're kind of going back to focusing on individual movies. So basically what I said was, I'm not going to give them my money unless I genuinely want to see the movie. So I did see James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I watched it on HBO Max as well. But I was actually genuinely interested in that movie. So I did watch James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I loved it. It was great. I am going to see Robert Pattinson's Batman movie. It's great. But this brings me to the point of talking about all this, and that is going back to Sony and their terrible Spider-Man movies. I don't want to support Sony. because they keep making terrible decisions. I mean, how long was it that they were talking about making a Black Cat and Silver Sable movie called Silver and Black? And now they're making a Morbius movie. They're making a Kraven the Hunter movie. They want to make a Sinister Six movie. Like, why? A Spider-Man villain is only as good as him versus Spider-Man. Like, you would not go see a Green Goblin movie. If they made I would not put it past Sony to make a Green Goblin movie. Why would I want that? You know, I don't want a Morbius movie. I don't want a Kraven the Hunter movie. I want Kraven the Hunter in a Spider-Man movie. I want the Sinister Six in a Spider-Man movie. So, with Venom 1, you know, they announced Venom, and I think I've talked about it before on the channel. I was not a fan of the idea of a Venom movie without Spider-Man because it completely changes his origin. You can't have Venom without Spider-Man. You can't. Spider-Man had the symbiote. Symbiote went to Eddie Brock, who hated Peter Parker. Eddie Brock became Venom, and his powers were Spider-Man-like because the symbiote was from Spider-Man. So taking that away just totally changes the symbiote, and then it changes the character of Venom. Venom started as a villain. He had a redemption arc. He became an anti-hero. You can't, now they've just totally changed his origin to just making him an anti-hero from the beginning. It doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. So Venom 1 sucked. And then, they announced they were doing Venom 2 and it was going to have Carnage. And you guys know I love Carnage. He's one of my favorite villains. And this is the first time we're getting Carnage in a movie. And I would love to see it. But I know I'm going to be disappointed. I know I'm not going to like it. And I don't want to give Sony my money. I wish more people would do that. Because apparently the movie has done well in the box office. Which means I can guarantee one thing. There's going to be a Venom 3. There's going to be a Venom 3. So, I am not going to see Morbius. I am not going to see Kraven the Hunter. I am not going to go to these movies. And hopefully, if you want Sony to change, you will do the same. Because if people stop going to their movies won't do well. And they'll have to rethink their methods. Which means either they'll have to make better movies, or they'll sell the rights to Marvel. Which is, of course, the best case scenario. So I have not seen Venom 2, and I don't plan to. Speaking of rights, I guess we should talk about this Steve Ditko, Stan Lee estate thing. For those who are not aware, let me see if I can find. Let's do Steve Ditko, Stan Lee estate, Spider-Man. Where was it originally posted? We'll do this one here. Basically, it was a big deal for a while that Marvel, it came out on Twitter or somewhere that the Ditko estate, the Stan Lee estate, the Jack Kirby estate were trying to take back the rights to some of their characters from Marvel. And Disney was countersuing to try and keep the rights. So basically they filed a notice to terminate the copyright on Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and Marvel responded by filing legal notices to preemptively determine that the works by all the creators were work for hire, and yada yada yada. They're trying to keep their rights. Now, when it comes to my thoughts on this, I've seen a lot of people online taking the side of the Steve Ditko estate, the Stan Lee estate, and basically making the argument of like, oh, of course, this big corporate Marvel or Disney or whatever, these creators should have the rights to their creation. Now, I take Marvel's side in this, and there's a couple of reasons. There's the selfish side, which is I want more Marvel Spider-Man comics, I want more Marvel Spider-Man movies. But Which, there's not to say that wouldn't happen if the estates did get the rights back, because what they would almost immediately do with it is negotiate for Marvel to still be able to use them, but they would get more royalties or whatever. They would be a multi-billion-dollar deal. But my thoughts on this is more, one, at no point in their life did Stan Lee or Steve Ditko try to do this. So the fact that their estate is doing it, I'm not really going to take their side on that, because it kind of seems like a cash grab. It seems like now they have, they're in charge of managing their estate, and they go, oh, well, we can get these rights and get a lot of money. But evidently Stan Lee and Steve Ditko believed in, and I know Steve Ditko had some animosity towards the whole thing, but so it's not actually them. It's not actually the people who created the characters. It's the family that's inherited their estate, which, as we've seen in the past, that family can be greedy. My other problem with this, and there is legal precedent to establish that Marvel will almost definitely win this dispute. It's this has happened before with other properties. I think Superman it happened with DC. But the main argument that Marvel has, and the reason I'm inclined to agree with them, is that these are Marvel properties. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, all of these creators were hired by Marvel to create these characters in these stories. So yes, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko created Spider-Man. They deserve all of the credit in the world for it, and that's why a lot of the time you'll see in the movies and the comic books, it'll say Spider-Man created by Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Fantastic Four created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, whatever. But they were working for Marvel, and it is a Marvel character. It is a Marvel property, Marvel trademark, Marvel whatever. So I don't think that they have any right to claim that it is theirs. I know a lot of people are inclined to say, well, they're the creators, they should have the rights. I disagree. They were hired by a company to create these, and that's just kind of how it works. So, am I worried that we're going to be losing Spider-Man? No. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't think the Ditko estate or the Lee estate or the Jack Kirby estate or any of this I don't think this is gonna amount to anything. This is one of those things that just scares everyone with a headline, and then we're not gonna hear about it again because it's probably gonna get settled and Disney will keep the rights to all these characters. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. That's why I didn't make a video. I know a lot of people jumped on it to make a video like, is Spider-Man, is Marvel gonna lose Spider-Man? How crazy would it be if Marvel lost Spider-Man and then out of nowhere DC bought the rights to Spider-Man and suddenly Spider-Man's a DC character? That would be crazy. I don't think that's happening either. Yeah, I don't expect anything to come of this, to be honest. I think he will stay with Marvel and we will keep having Spider-Man for many years to come. So I would not be worried about it. If you are worried about it, don't let the clickbait scare you. I don't know too much about the legal elements of this. I know nothing about law, but when it comes to my thoughts and opinions on it, I definitely take the side of Marvel. They own these characters, they were created by these creators, and they should be credited, and they are credited, and I'm sure there's some form of royalties or something involved with that as well. Is it enough? I don't know. I don't know how much they get. I do think that they should get a fair amount. So if that's really what this is about and they just want to negotiate a better price for the rights, then that's great. So that's my thoughts on that. I do not think that Marvel should just say, okay, here's Spider-Man back. And they're not going to. So, but yeah, I never talked about that on the channel because it happened and I kind of just didn't comment on it. So I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. And so, yeah, that's the situation as I know it. I don't think there's been any developments. If there have, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. But ultimately, let me know what you guys think. I mean, if you totally disagree with me, I'd love to hear why, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. We can have a discussion in the comments. What do you guys think about this whole situation? Because it was like a big deal for a little while. It's kind of calmed down now, but it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think. But all in all, I think I'm gonna wrap this up here. Future streams will hopefully be longer as well. But I just wanted to hop on, talk about No Way Home, talk about Spider-Man, show you guys my pickups, and just kind of hang out. So yeah, I'm gonna head out. So if you did watch this video, make sure you hit that like button. I really, really, really do appreciate it. It really helps me to know which videos and streams you guys like more, because the more likes something gets, the more likely I am to do more like it in the future. So if you enjoy this content, you want to see more like it, hit that like button. If you want to tune in live in the future, I will be aiming for Thursdays going forward. I don't know about next Thursday because I am going to be out of town next week. I should be getting back Thursday morning, but I don't know how that will affect my schedule at all. But if I do stream next Thursday, it'll be right around the same time as this stream. So in the afternoon, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. If you really want to be up to date on when that'll be, go to that Twitter account right there, and I will try to tweet out on Thursday when and where, if I'm going to be doing a stream that day. So I'd love to hang out with you guys live in the chat and interact with you. So definitely tune in to those in the future. But thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. So